Welcome to Daily Armour. Today we're going to be in 1 Corinthians chapter number 15, looking at verse 33. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, looking at verse number 33. I started out kind of thinking about communication. I was thinking about that sometimes Todd and I, we have a lack of communication. There's things that I'm doing that he needs to know about. There's things that he's doing that he needs to, let me in on some things. And sometimes we just kind of get crossed up and we don't get it communicated in time. We don't let the other one know. Sometimes we're just, both of us are distracted with other things. And then when we get together, I was like, oh, I meant to tell you this, and oh, I meant to tell you that. And as I was just kind of thinking about communication, I just looked it up in the Bible to see what the different scriptures had to say about communication. And of course, we need to communicate with the Lord, and we know that we're to do that through prayer. I like how David would say in the scriptures, and David inquired of the Lord. He would talk to the Lord about some things. He would ask the Lord, should I go here? Should I stay here? Should I go there? He would ask him about some different situations, and it says that he inquired of the Lord. And we'll see if you read, if you know much about the life of David, that it was when he stopped asking the Lord, it's when he seemed to, find himself, in a place where he messed up. And he messed up some big things. But going back to that communication, I was wondering what all that the scriptures had to say about it. And I ran across this verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse number 33. And it really, if you just look at this verse all by itself, it sounds like it's a proverb. It really, really does. I was like, wow, this could be in the book of Proverbs. It's just something that's very wise and very profound. Proverbs is just a whole book of wise sayings. And you can, it could be in some of the simplest statements in the book of Proverbs, but it would be something that will profoundly change how you do something, how you react to something, how, what measures you take. It's a very wise. Solomon, who was the wisest person here on earth, fleshly man, God give him wisdom because that's what he asked for. He didn't ask for all this other stuff that he could have asked for. And as he went to be king, he was like, Lord, would you give me wisdom so that I would know how to rightly handle situations? He wanted to know. He wanted to be careful. He took it serious, his responsibilities, and he didn't want to lead the people astray. And so God gave him wisdom, and he penned down a bunch of wise sayings in Proverbs. But here in 1 Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 33, it's something that's, again, very simple, yet very profound. If you put this into practice, it will make a difference in my life and in your life. And it simply says, be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. See what I mean? That sounds like something that would come out of a proverb. Be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. Let's just break it down. That's what I did. That's when I just broke it down word by word. I went to my King James Bible Dictionary.com. I popped in 1 Corinthians 15:33, and I started looking at each individual word. And we know what the words mean. We can understand what this is saying, but there's something about when I look it up and the definitions that are given, it really, really helps me. It helps sink it in for me. So the first one that I looked up was deceived. Be not deceived. So I looked up that word deceived. It was in the Greek. 4105 is the Strong's Concordance number, and it means to go astray. Go astray. Be not deceived. Do not go astray. It also said it meant seduced. See, it's so easy to be deceived. It's so easy to be just seduced. It's so easy to get caught up in the moment. I think that we've all been guilty of that. I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of saying something that I'm like, just getting caught up in the moment. And, saying something that I wish went too far. Probably you've been, if sometimes when a bunch of friends get together or a bunch of siblings get together and everybody decides to pick on one person. The first time you say something, it's kind of a joke. And then as everybody pitches in, it quits being a joke anymore. It stops being a joke really, really quick, and it starts being hurtful and damaging and dangerous and cruel. And that's what this is talking about. Don't be deceived. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get seduced. Don't wander into this. It says lead aside. Also, another definition said lead aside, or being led aside from the right way. So, what started out, just that was just something funny, and then very quickly you can be deceived into taking it too far, and where it's not funny anymore. It's not a joke. And I think so many people that are so full of sarcasm, that are so quick-witted to come back with a quick response, I think that if they would stop and think about what they're doing and think about what they're saying, that maybe that they wouldn't be so easily deceived into evil communications. Evil, the word evil, it means bad, harm, ill, wicked. Do we want to say things that are wicked? No, but it doesn't mean that you have to use a curse word for it to be wicked. Your tone, and the words that you say, how you're treating somebody, how you're making them feel. How are you making them feel? I have to be careful. I have to be careful in my own life. Sometimes I get really defensive really quickly, and I have to be careful. Even, the simplest things, that I'm like, it's not really anybody else, but it's just me. It's just me being tired. It's me being cranky. I think that's that's probably our most vulnerable time that we could, be apt to, use evil communications. This is when we're ill, when we're cranky, we're hangry or something. When I'm trying to cut back, because I'm trying to lose some weight, and so I've been trying to cut back. I've been skipping some meals. It makes me very cranky. Been, having to watch myself in my communication. Sometimes I'm choosing not to say anything at all, because I don't want to, because I know I'm in a snappy mood, and I just choose to not, I just don't want to talk, because I'm afraid I'm going to say something. And I'm sure you've had those days or those moments or an afternoon where you're just like, I shouldn't talk. I shouldn't talk because it's not going to be pleasant, probably what's going to come out of my mouth. Just, let me get distracted, doing something else. I can go to cleaning or, organizing something or planning something. And be, put my mind at better use, than when I'm ill and cranky. So, but we want to be aware that what we say, can be, it can be harmful. It can be wicked. It can be just downright bad, bad to say and bad to hear. And then the communications, then the word here means companionship, communion. This is that relationship. Are you going to have a good relationship, or are you going to have a bad relationship? If I'm always seeing the negative of everything, if I'm always defensive about everything, that does not make for a good relationship. If I am, quick to point out every mistake, I don't want somebody pointing out my every mistake, so I need to be careful. It's that relationship. It's that give and take. It's that being respectful of the people that we are in a relationship with, that we are communing with, that we are, that are our companions, whether it be a friend, whether it be a parent, a child, whether it be a spouse, somebody that you work with. We want to be careful with, everything. Sometimes that sarcasm, we use sarcasm as a way to say something that sometimes needs to be said, but doing it sarcastically isn't helping anybody. And I want to be careful with my communications. I don't want it to be evil or harmful. I don't want my companionship to be harmed. I don't want my, relationships to be harmed. And so it says that be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt. Corrupt. The word corrupt means defiled, destroy, and corrupt self. So it's not only that you're corrupting it, that you are defiling and destroying maybe the relationship on the other side. Maybe that person, you might be destroying them. You might be, truly, truly harming somebody with your words. And you are not only hurting them, but you're hurting yourself. Because people are not going to want to hang around. They're not going to want to hear it. They're going to want to walk away. They're not going to want to have anything to do with you. They're going to break ties. They're only going to put up with it for so long, and then they're done. They don't want to hear it. They're not, we have to be careful how we communicate with others. We want to be careful that it's not always something mean and hurtful and ill and, cruel. And we're going to, it's going to start harming ourselves as it's harming the person who's hearing it. And what's going to happen is you're destroying your own self. You're going to be out here, feeling very alone and very, by yourself, and you're going to wonder what happened. Why does nobody want to be around me? Maybe it's the communication problems, and sometimes I just want to clam up and not communicate. And sometimes I just want to ponder on some things. I want to be careful. Sometimes I'm stopping before I say something. I'm going to stop and think about what am I saying. And when I take that time and do that, it ends up being a lot better than just when that first thing that pops into my mind. I don't want to say the first thing that pops into my mind. It might not come out correctly. It might come out, with a wrong tone. And I want to be careful. And I just thought maybe that some of y'all are seeing that in yourselves, and maybe that's something that you want to think about as well. And so what does evil communications do? It corrupts. What does it corrupt? Good manners. I don't like somebody that's rude. And therefore, I need to be careful that I'm not the one being rude. And I know I have been, and I never even meant to be. Sometimes I probably have been, but on most of the time, I will go out of my way, the best of my ability, to try to have good manners, to try to be careful. And when we use any kind of harmful things that we can say, when we're harmful with what we say, that's not good manners. It's rude. It's absolutely rude. It's something that it was very shocking to me. Very, very shocking to me when we first moved from North Carolina to Florida. One of the things that bugged me the most was we have never in our life had been around so many rude people before, ever. We didn't know what in the world was going on. Where in the world did all these rude people come from? It was ridiculous. It was like nobody had good manners in stores and restaurants, on the road. It was shocking. The culture shock of just being rude and nobody knowing how to have good manners. A little please, a little thank you, a little letting somebody in, a little not cutting somebody off, a little, excuse me, instead of like, get out of my way. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you didn't even give me a chance to step aside, just come barging through. And because you see a woman with 4 kids, you're automatically assuming that we are the problem. I'm like, it was really, really difficult. But then how did I respond? I started being rude back. And that didn't help me. That didn't help anybody. And that's where what this is saying is that the corruption, it corrupted me. It corrupted me. And I don't want to be that way. I have had to learn from my husband, who is really, really good at when people are ugly to him of being kind instead of even down to before the conversation is over, they might even apologize or change their tone. And that was something it didn't naturally didn't come to me. I naturally get defensive. And that was something that watching my husband, that he was, I was just trying to pay attention to how he handled things. And then here I see scripture where, it does stop us from having good manners. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude. Even if I've been offended, or even if I'm just ill, even if I'm just having a bad day, or I've got a terribly horrible migraine headache, and I've been getting them for a while now, and so I have to be really careful here lately, because I've been really having a struggle with headaches. But we want to be careful not to project that and not to harm someone, because I don't want to harm anyone, even somebody that's being rude. And I'm just trying to consider, well, you know what, maybe you're having a bad day, and then just try to be, kind instead. And I do not have it all figured out, and I will mess up and I will make mistakes. But I like this. This is a good reminder for me, and I thought maybe it would be a good reminder for you that be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.